menstrual impurity came to be upon a man lying down with her, as when, unwittingly, a husband had sexual relations with his wife at the beginning of menstruation, he was rendered unclean for 7 days, and the bed upon which he might lie down was considered unclean. The woman was also viewed as unclean for the duration of an irregular running discharge of blood or a flow longer than her menstrual impurity, at which time she made the articles on which she lay or sat as well as persons touching these items unclean. After the abnormal discharge ceased, she was to count 7 days, and she then became clean. On the 8th day the woman brought 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons to the priest, who made atonement for her, presenting one of these creatures to Jehovah as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering. The 15. 19-30. See clean, cleanness. If a man and a woman deliberately cohabited during her menstrual impurity, they were cut off in death. Law 18. 19. 20. 18. The prohibiting of sexual union during menstruation probably contributed to health, perhaps preventing, for instance, the occurrence of inflammation in the genital area, simple urethritis. The Israelites also may have been reminded of the sanctity of blood by the laws regulations involving menstruation or blood flow. These rules were not discriminatory against women, for men were subject to uncleanness by discharges to which they were prone. The 15. 1-17 especially did regulations concerning menstruation show Jehovah's consideration for womankind. The Christian husband, though he is not under the law 6. 14. F2. 11-16, also does well to consider his wife's cycles and vicissitudes, dwelling with her according to knowledge and assigning her honor as to a weaker vessel, the feminine one. 1p3. 7. Menoth me middle dot Nuhoth resting places. According to the Masoretic text, apparently a Judean family descended through Shobal. 1ch2. 4. 52 But some scholars prefer amending the Hebrew text to read the Manahattites, as in verse 54. J.B. Mo and a Jewish commentary on Chronicles gives the alternate reading who supervised half of the resting places and notes. Shobal was in charge of half the caravan stations in the land of Judah. Cincino Books of the Bible, edited by A. Cohen, London, 1952, p. 15. Monenim. Big tree of me middle dot on e middle dot nin those practicing magic. A tree within sight of Shechem, passed by a band of King Abimelech's men before their fight with the landowners of that city. JG 9. 34-37 Big tree of Monenim translates the Hebrew words e middle dot lon me o middle dot nenim. E middle dot lon refers to big trees in general, and me on nenim is a participle signifying those practicing magic. Cedar 18. 14. The tree may have been so named because Canaanites or apostate Israelites engaged in magical practices there. Some scholars also link the big tree of Monenim with the big trees of Moreh that are similarly described as being in the vicinity of Shechem. Compare GE 12. 6. 35. 4. JG 9. 6. Miono time middle dot ono middle dot I. A descendant of Judah who became father to Ophrah, being either the paternal ancestor of a person named Ophrah or the founder of a place bearing that name. 1ch4. 1, 14. Mephath Mepha middle dot up. A city originally assigned to the Reubenites, but subsequently granted to the Merarite Levites. Jos 13. 15, 18. O textoi acute miritra longo, Merab 373, 2. Son of Jonathan. Grandson of King Saul. When the report about the deaths of Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel, Mephibosheth's nurse began to carry the 5-year-old boy and flee in panic. At that time he had a fall and was lamed in both feet. 2-4. For some years thereafter, Mephibosheth lived in the house of Machir the son of Amiel at Lodebar. David learned this from Ziba, a former servant in Saul's house. Doubtless remembering his covenant with Jonathan 1-20. 12-17, 42, David wished to exercise loving kindness toward anyone left over of the house of Saul. Mephibosheth was brought before David, and when the king explained that it was his desire to exercise loving kindness toward Mephibosheth by returning to him all the field of Saul and by having him eat bread at my table constantly, Mephibosheth responded humbly, "What is your servant, that you have turned your face to the dead dog such as I am. However, in keeping with David's determination in the matter, Ziba and all those dwelling in his house including 15 sons and 20 servants became servants to Mephibosheth, who was given Saul's property. He thereafter resided in Jerusalem and constantly ate at the table of the king. 2:9. When David fled from Jerusalem because of Absalom's conspiracy, he was met by Ziba, who provided him with supplies. Answering David's inquiries as to the whereabouts of Mephibosheth, Ziba said, "There he is dwelling in Jerusalem." For he said, "Today the house of Israel will give back to me the royal rule of my father." At that, the king told Ziba, "Look, yours is everything that belongs to Mephibosheth." 2:16. 1-4 Mephibosheth came to meet David upon the king's return to Jerusalem, the account saying he has not attended to his feet, nor had he attended to his mustache, nor had he washed